part, or do we just want to record a session?
I mean, we can always excise it out afterwards.
Because I'm okay. I know we were talking about going through those sessions. I love the fact that you sent me that Pop Jeopardy. I've been trying to get my wife to do one of those trials or whatever online. She every time because I love Jeopardy, she loves Jeopardy. I used to think I was smart. I'm not smart anymore. I'll just let you know that right now. But I used to do fairly well at Jeopardy. I'm not as well read, and that's a problem for me because half the Jeopardy categories involve like authors and novels. Yeah. And it's like, I know a little bit, if they got Lord of the Flies and some other things, but Steinbeck, I'm good. I'm good in that vein, but outside of that, no.
Back when I think it was when Who Wants to Be a Millionaire launched. I think it was back when I was in college. Obviously, it's been a long time. So I signed up just for just for shits and giggles. Basically, I was like, all right, I'm gonna sign up. Sure enough, they call my I left my house phone back at like homes for my parents to get my point of contact because I didn't have my cell phone at that point. So they contact my parents. They're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you wanted to be a contestant? Yeah, we can get you down." I'm like, "Man, I got finals this week. Like, I can't come down."
I think I would have had to skip those, bro, or like do some serious.
I badly wanted to. I was like, "Man, I could have gone on a game show. This sounds kind of cool." And my lifelong dream is to be on Jeopardy. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Have you ever tried? Have you ever?
I've done all the online stuff every time it pops up, and now you can try out anytime you want, which is kind of nice.
Okay.
They don't have like little windows or whatever it is. So you can sign up anytime and try to go against these, crazy dudes like Ken Jennings and all that or whatever that.
Exactly. But Karen holds up. She knows her geography. She knows her world history. She even knows American history, and she's not even from here. So it's like
one of these days, once I make it up Chicago, we should go out to So I used to go like religiously. It was a group of 6 of us. We used to go to trivia night at Kincaid.
Yep.
So they had dollar burgers the same night. So it was perfect.
Yeah, they used to have one at BBW's. It's funny calling it that, but it used to be called Buffalo Wild Wings. Now it's called BBW.
It's a whole different connotation.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, they used to have that, and I used to go with a couple people, and that was fun.
No, it was awesome.
Yeah. So anytime you come up, I'd be happy to do that. She's pretty good. I have my vein. Definitely if it's anything sports related, we got that. But like I like potpourri stuff because if it's like like 13-letter word.
When you're in like that group trivia stuff, like in a bar, you want like specialists in your group, right? So that works perfect.
That was my thing because I would be with the Bradyacks. I used to think I was smart. All these people were smart. It's like, but you guys don't know sports. You guys don't know entertainment. Exactly. You guys don't know that. So when you sent me the Pop Jeopardy, the pop culture thing, I was like,
we can jump on this.
Yeah.
We had 300 monster. We can take your wife as the third one and try to make a theme out of it.
Well, so this is the difference though. If it's pop culture 2000 and before, okay. What about pop culture 2000 to today? I would probably want my daughter to because she probably knows more about that world.
We
need someone younger.
We need people with Riz. Exactly.
There you go. And someone who says no cap. Anyone who says no cap, they could be with us because then they know the pop culture of today.
I forgot who I was talking to. It might have even been like I think Dave for work, and I got stuck chaperoning my son's 3rd grade field trip last week to the DC Zoo. It was fun. I was like, okay, I get to be with 3rd graders. Let's see if I got kind of their swagger or whatever. I earned their street cred. It was good, but I was just stunned. Even at that age, they're 9 or whatever. They're still like shortening words that we used to say in full-fledged sentences. And I'm thinking to myself, this generation's going to be halfway moronic. Like, it's going to be ridiculous. They half-ass everything.
don't tell them that because I've tried to present that view. And boy, you don't want to tell people of this generation.
I'm like, how do you take a word like charisma and just say Riz? Like
Riz. Exactly. How? Why? But my point is why?
Yeah.
Like, are you just that lazy that you can't afford the extra couple syllables coming out of your mouth? That what you like conserving on tongue movement or something like that? Like what reason is there? I get acronyms. I get it. But why do you have to shorten? Everything is shortened. They don't want to say anything in full sentence anymore.
No, it's even I still don't understand how you get to cap as in like true. Like what cap? Like, yeah,
is that the fat cap? Okay, you got me. It has no meaning whatsoever. I still haven't heard anybody who could tell me why no cap was used for fact, and you capping, meaning that you're lying. How? What is that? Where did that come from?
I got kids of every race at soccer practice. Like I tell them something at practice, and they're like, "No cap." I'm like, "Yeah, no cap." Like,
and what's so funny, and don't get me wrong, you know, I think sometimes people our age, and you actually made me feel a little older when you said you were in high school when Who Wants to Be a Millionaire came out. I was like, damn, I am old.
We're talking 1999, man.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was 23 in 1999, or actually, I was 30. I was 33 in 1999.
Okay, so yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute.
But sometimes I think we look at, you know, we have this perspective. Like, remember when we were growing up, we were changing the language a little bit. We had slang
words like awesome, rad, tubular, like stuff that didn't exist.
Well, right. And well, we used words like choice and bogus. Heck, I remember when I was in high school, choice, bogus, and how about it? Those expressions were used all the time. So we did some of that, but I think they're just butchering it even more. And I won't go back to Idiocracy, but if anyone who's ever seen the movie, you know what how this applies to it. I feel like we're getting there because soon we'll be down to grunts and you know, and because we won't make even that noise. You know, no cap will just be kid, you know, or something stupid because nobody wants to talk
noises here in 10 years, basically.
We're getting back to caveman days.
It might play well for us because we'll be senior citizens by then. It might work. less effort and exertion. I don't mind this.
Well, see, and that's why sayings like, you know, the youth is wasted on the young is so freaking true. It's so applicable because the wisdom isn't there. They think because we're young and we're jazzy and I got swag. Yeah, okay, whatever. That makes it cool, but then it's like, is the application appropriate? And then you're like, I don't know about that part.
So for soccer practice last week, we did adults versus kids. So it was like 4 of us adults against literally 10 kids on the field.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
We're out of energy, obviously, because we're old 40-year-old men and 50-year-old men, like running around like, you know, crazy people. But they're sitting there, like I think they ended up scoring first on us because they had one kid that's really, really good. And he goes out there and does the CR7 after he celebrates. And I'm like, uh-oh.
Wait, CR7?
Yeah, he did the whole Cristiano Ronaldo celebration
thing. CR7, Cristiano Ronaldo. I was like, I thought it was another like new
another thing,
yeah. Okay, that's an actual good one.
They can't even say Cristiano Ronaldo anymore.
Yeah, right? CR7. So he went and did all of his jazzy dance, thought he was that.
I look over and I'm like, just wait. Next field, get a send ball through. I cut back behind the defender. I go all the way to the goal line. They get a feed right on the goal line past the goalie played up. So I literally stopped the ball on the goal line. I looked at him. I go and tapped it in.
And just tap it in. There you go. You got to. You know what? I love that when I was coaching football and soccer, playing against the kids and showing them like because they think you're old, right?
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, well, the football one was even better because these kids were like 13 when my son was playing, and we were over at Horner Park. And it was me and the other 2 coaches. So there were 3 of us and 9 of them, or 11 of them. And we're guarding them pretty well. I'm the rush. I would let them get it. And then there was just one play. I literally, when he called hike, I jumped over the center and tackled the quarterback. I just had to do it just one time. You know,
you had your Jadeveon Clowney moment.
It made me feel so good that I could actually still do it. And the kids were surprised. They were very surprised. There's nothing better as an athlete, especially in football, but in boxing and other, when you can look someone in the eye and you see the fear of death in their face, like they see it coming and they know they can't stop it. And it's a feeling that I can never like duplicate. It's just something better than chocolate.
Oh, absolutely. Our end lesson at practice. I mean, the kids were all tired as hell. Obviously, we were too, but they were like, "How'd you guys beat us 9-3?" It's like, dude, we looked around the field and we knew how to use our energy. It's like we didn't sit there running around with our heads cut off trying to chase the ball
just stupid stuff.
It's like, how'd you guys get that ball? That I saw where you standing. I saw where I'm standing. I'm getting the ball. You're
right. Create space. I used to have to tell them that. Well, one thing I had to stop, and I was at how old are the kids you coach now?
9.
Okay, so I was right around there, and even before. Like I have all these things on my wall showing it.
Yeah.
But you like at the beginning, even though you try to teach them how to space and everything, they had this beehive mentality. Wherever the ball went, everybody went to the ball. And it's like, you guys can't be effective like that. You don't need that. Even if you don't get the ball, it's okay. But having 9 people around the ball, or however many people, wasn't productive. You need to create space. If you do get the ball, then you can kick it to someone who's open and then start moving down the field.
Our end lesson we ended our practice with was like, look, play smarter, not harder. Like this is your old man lesson for the day. Like,
yeah, and that's a great lesson. At least they can actually see it in application. Like, makes sense.
This weekend you got a tournament coming up. Let's see you guys actually use this to your advantage. You're going to play short games. I think they're doing like 15-minute games, which is kind of crazy for this.
Oh, wow, that's a game.
Well, they've got 10 teams in the league, so they're going to do like a round robin format and 2 pools. So you're paying 4 games basically in the day. So they're going to do 15-minute games. It's rec, but they're gonna let them press and everything. So I was like, what do you think you should do on the kickoff? And I asked my own son, I asked all the other kids, and I'm like, what do you guys think you should do? Oh, just pass it to my friend. No, guys, you have 15 minutes to score and get off the field. I want you to boom the ball down the field, go chase it, and then I want you to spread out and look to attack on every single ball.
That's good strategy.
Strategy basically. And then I was like, as soon as their goalie gets it, I want you to press him. I want you to press every defender as if you're trying to defend, but you're going to try to get the balls and steal it and shoot it. So you guys have
defense.
It's about mentality, guys. Like, don't waste your energy just running around like a bunch of bats.
The kids will do that because they get sort of, I don't know, like they get this idea of you tell them one thing, and instead of being able to apply it as the situation changes, they only apply it, literally at every situation. It's like, well, they're just giving you the overall understanding. When it's this, doesn't mean you do this. You do what's appropriate for that situation.
I mean, that's like definitely my son too. Like my son, I'll tell him like everything that he needs to kind of know just to understand the basis, but then he'll try to apply it to everything. I'm like, no, son, you need to think. I want you to think about this.
Use your brain.
That little mouse that's hanging up there that's spinning the wheel, like make sure he's spinning in the right direction. Like, whatever.
Feed him some cheese every once in a while. Give him some energy so it actually works.
I'm like mousetrap. This is what mousetrap is. You're trying to avoid trying to get.
Man, I'm envious. If I had my druthers, I win the lottery or whatever it would be, or if I could do this professionally. My side hustle, it wouldn't be a hustle because I would do it for free. Is to teach kids. I love coaching kids. It's so much fun when they start to get it. It's to watch them develop and how they, complement each other and have the friendships that grow from that. Man, I so love that so much.
No, I was talking to a bunch of parents over the weekend. Like we were at a kid's birthday party, and they're like, "Oh, how do you get the time to do it?" I'm like, "I just make time for it because I enjoy it. Like it's that simple. You make time to coach. You make time to have kids get together. You make time to, see them come up, and hopefully if they're doing the same activity or whatever it is, hopefully they're all succeeding at it. It's just that's a bigger joy than me trying to be envious of the fact that I didn't make it to the pros when I was a kid, and neither did most of us.
Like most of us, you and your sport, me and mine. I had 2 sports and I didn't make it. But I love watching them just grow, and that's what team sports. I get the different things that parents try to include kids in, but I tell you what, team sports hits all of those notes and then some, because it gives them the opportunity to grow within an environment. And when you talk about how you learn, like when you get a little older, you're in collaborative environments where, whether it's in high school or college, you're being put into groups with people that you don't know, and you have to learn how to work with and use their talents and perspective along with yours to create something greater from that. And I think team sports do that right away.
Yep, absolutely. Adaptability, success, like it all comes together as one. No, absolutely. Totally agree. Totally agree. If only we had that in everyone in a company.
Man. Well, you have to have your individual contributors.
Yeah, true. You got to have your stars.
Those are the ones that, you sort of don't want on a team because they don't work with teams well. Like individual contributors are great on their own, but sometimes you find them a detriment to like a collaborative environment because they don't know how to work that way. They don't know how to communicate that way.
You could take an all-star and put him on a team of players that's worked together. Like, take for example the Pistons from the 2000s, right? Like the teams that won it, like the Rip Hamilton teams and all that.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to put a LeBron on one of those, or a KD, or whatever it is, I don't think it would have worked as well, because those guys between Billups, Hamilton, Bun Wallace, like that whole that core just knew how to play as a team.
Right.
Even the net from like the early 2000s,
Bronson,
like
Billups, all of them. Yeah. Yep.
Knew how to play as a team, and that's where they were able to succeed. I feel like the Celtics are getting there with Brown and Tatum. They've got the other pieces around them this year to kind of make that happen. Mm-hmm. But like, I think I forgot what I read from yesterday after they had gotten the sweep done. Like, they were showing the team come up and get their trophy for the Eastern Conference win. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have Brown and Tatum next to each other at all. I'm like, and then the question's like, oh, do they really get along? Blah blah blah. The media drama starts, and I'm like, look, this team is playing together. All their pieces are coming together. Porzingis, if he gets healthy, that's their X factor, and I think they've got a legit shot to take this thing. Especially now, you got the Timberwolves and the Mavs that are probably going to play a longer series than you anticipated at this point.
Well, they didn't sweep them yesterday, so it's potentially Minnesota could go back home and win a game, But it's funny. It's funny you mentioned the Celtics, because I felt like that dynamic you were describing was actually in play when Kyrie was there, when Tatum and Brown were rookies or whatever. And you saw how Kyrie could not play with them. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, you talked about KD. KD should have won 5-6 championships as good as he is, but he didn't play well with others in his game.
He's an individual contributor.
It's suited for him. It's not suited for a team. It's suited for him. He being in Golden State, they could have put me on Golden State and still won a championship.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
So, like, KD didn't add anything to him. They won before he got there. So it's not, like, there are just certain people, and that's perfect what you said. Those are great examples of how individual contributors can not necessarily gel well with team concepts and make it better.
Yep. Even football, it works the same way. Like, you could put an all-star quarterback at one team, but is it going to work with the receivers? Not always, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, same thing with I feel like the personalities.
Yeah.
When you talk about that, because the skills are there, obviously. It's the way a person
they interact.
Yeah, and how they interact, but their perspective of their own success and how they see that. And like KD is one of them. But I'll give you a good example. Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
Antonio Brown was one of the best, if not the best receiver in the NFL at a time for probably a couple of years.
Oh, absolutely. Hands down. Talent-wise, absolutely.
But his personality didn't gel with everybody because he was so diva. Same with matter of fact, you can name almost every receiver that ever played that was really good. Yeah. Except although Randy Moss, I feel like
came around.
He wasn't the diva. He was, I think, to be successful, and let's not be coy about this, to be really successful, like that next level, like pro.
You gotta have a little swagger. Yeah.
You got to be sort of selfish. You got to be sort of, focused on yourself and how you perform, and then you learn how to work that. Same with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan came to the Bulls. He didn't know how to play with the Bulls because they all sucked. And they were doing blow all the time, so they were just coked up. So he just went up and did him, but they weren't successful with him just doing him.
I saw a great piece. I think it was last week or the week before. It might have just been a thing online or something. They were comparing the culture of like the 80s and 90s basketball for players in the offseason or even in celebratory mode versus what you see now. Now you got these guys with their fitness regimens, their food regimens, and everything else in the offseason.
That shit didn't exist back then.
Golfing, smoking, drinking.
Cigars and poker and prostitutes and that was what they were doing. The peas. They were getting the peas out. Puffing, and poker.
And dude still won 6 chips.
Because again, that was a focus that they had. And don't get me wrong, I think what they do today is what you should be doing as an athlete. Like, that's an investment in yourself. Yeah. But I can tell you, boy, there was something to the flash and the flair. Like, they talk about swag, that was swag back in the 80s, how people performed. And it wasn't just, basketball. You looked at football. Who was the best linebacker ever? Who is the best linebacker ever? Who?
I mean, got to be Lawrence Taylor somewhere in that
Bam,
line. Yeah.
Lawrence Taylor. You said it. All right, Lawrence Taylor. I'm sure he probably had a little bullet before. He was like, all right, let me get some wait, hold up, timeout. All right, let me sneak over here and get some blow.
Yeah,
all right, I'm ready. Let's get back on the field.
Jump off the line as fast as that man did.
He was a terror. He was. I would never want to be, if I was a blocker, if I was the running back, if I was the quarterback, I would never want to see him on the other side of the field ready to come at me. He would make you have that look. Yeah, exactly. And he'd make you have that look like I was talking about when I jumped over that kid. That's the look. You see Lawrence Taylor coming, you almost want to just curl up in the fetal position and just
curl in the fetal position, be like,
here, playing like hot potato. Whoever has the ball, they're throwing it to someone else so he doesn't smear them, like smash them on the ground, Man, that's just funny.
That was true fear factor back in the day. Like, there is no lineman in the game today. I mean, some people say it might be like one of the Watt brothers or whatever. I'm like, nah. No. They ain't LT. They ain't LT. No. Nobody scares me.
Nope. Not the guy from the Rams. Nope.
Selfishly, I say like Chris Jones reminds me more like a Reggie White. They're more power guys, right?
Like, yeah. He could do the one-arm throw and all of that.
Guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Their technique and stuff like that. And they're big and they're just huge. They're just gigantic men, at the end of the day.
You know what I would say? Lawrence Taylor, to me, he embodied what the Pittsburgh defense was in the 70s. Me growing 100%. Up, I loved watching that and watching the Iron Curtain and watching them do what they did. That was Lawrence Taylor all by himself. Like he brought the veracity.
He was 5 men.
All of that in the one person, and they just said, "Okay, go get him." And he would, do all of the things. He was just amazing.
So true. So true. I feel like Derek Thomas was close. I mean, he still had a long enough career, and it was sad.
That's so sad. Think about how good we could have been back then with him.
Him and Neil Smith on two
him and Neil Smith. Yep. That was so tragic. And didn't he pass away because there was a drunk driver going the wrong direction on an expressway? I mean, I hear that stuff and I often wonder, like, how does that ever happen? I've been drunk, and don't get me wrong. I condone drunken driving, but I remember when I was younger, there were times where I went out and I got drunk and I drove. But how do you get to the point where you can't even realize the roads are just made in a way that you immediately know I'm not in the right spot?
You say all that. I don't know if this this probably doesn't exist still even in Chicago, maybe in the way outer burbs if they're doing some more modern roads. The big trend on the East Coast is to build circles these days at the intersections.
Oh yeah, seen that.
It's like in Europe, obviously.
Yep. Europe is all
over. Moron, sober people I've seen drive opposite in a freaking circle, and I just want to slap the hell out of him if I get out of the car. Like I've literally seen. I've got dash cams in my car. I put them in selfishly. So I don't know if you knew this. The state of Virginia is the last one in the entire country to require people to have insurance when they register a vehicle. It will not take effect until 7/1 of this year. So up until all of time till literally next month,
you can drive without insurance.
You could drive without insurance in the state of Virginia. So you can only imagine
legally. Yeah, you have no risk.
Yeah, no risk. So you can only imagine the insurance rates and everything else is off the wall around here, right? So in order to prove a wreck against an uninsured motor or whatever the hell it is, it's like you need to have some protection against yourself. So as a Maryland driver, get a dash cam, because all these Virginia lunatics come over and you don't know what's going to happen.
That's just insane that is actually.
Well, funny enough, it's gotten abused enough to where they finally made change because folks from Virginia, West Virginia, all the surrounding states would go register their cars in Virginia at like a post box or whatever the hell it was, just to avoid all the pay and everything else that goes on. But DC drivers notorious for this.
Well, then what happens then? So I had somebody do that the other day right in front of my house. This lady who was very young, Latina, she like plowed into this lady. Stop. She got out of the car. She was crying. She was crying for like the next hour while they were trying to sort things out because she didn't have a driver's license. And if she didn't have a driver's license, pretty sure she didn't have insurance.
That's either, yeah.
But so if you don't and you get into an accident, what happens?
It's a good question. I mean, In terms of insurance, like you have that secondary clause in your standard insurance policy for underinsured drivers, right? Like, so let's say you get hit by her, right? In some instance, or whatever it was. Let's say your car was parked and she hit your car. It would actually have to come back to your insurance for the payout because she isn't covered.
Right.
And frankly, your premium's still going to go up.
Your premiums go up. It wasn't your fault. You were sitting in your car, someone hits you, and you end up being the victim from a financial standpoint.
Yep.
That's messed up.
It's messed up. We have the worst, like it's the worst thing possible. And lo and behold, let's pretend even if it's like a hit and run in that situation.
Right. That's way worse.
Yep.
But here's what I'm not understanding, and I guess this is the separation of federal and state government laws. Why would it be okay for a state to be able to have that type of law still be in place today? That should be something overarching. That's a federal thing. Right.
I want to say there's a push. I want to say there's a push because of the whole real ID thing that's now going into effect for driver's license and all that, so we can have a unified system. It probably took this long to try to unify some sort of database or system, which is ridiculous in my opinion in this day and age. It doesn't make any sense that it took this long. I have a feeling it's probably something to do with that. But to me, that's bullshit. It's like, I'm pretty sure the, Immigration National INS probably has all of our information in some capacity.
Somewhere it's there. And if you want
to a citizen or a passport holder, whatever it is,
something. Right? Like, and if you have state databases, you're going to tell me, I don't even care if they aren't the same type of systems, because you got various vendors and blah, blah, blah. But
the same basic name, like my name.
Exactly. It has the same information. Doesn't have to be the same system. You dump it into something like an Excel spreadsheet, and then all of a sudden, right? Come on, man. So it shouldn't take that long. It shouldn't. You're talking 50 states, and I don't care how many people are in each state. If it's already in a database, should be pretty easy to aggregate that information into one comprehensive national database.
But no, between having like a dash cam, like honestly, it's actually paid off for me. I think it was like 5 years ago. My car was parked at a Target out there inside shopping, and lo and behold, some guy must have tried to turn into the spot next to me, whatever. I was obviously inside. Hits my car, nice little ding on the corner of the bumper. I get out and I'm like, what the hell's going on? Go back into Target. I'm like, do you guys have footage up in the cameras? They're like, no, sorry, whatever. I'm like, you're Target.
That's bull crap. You're gonna tell me they have no footage of their parking lots?
I escalated up to Target. It took a while for me to actually get footage from them. Fine. Finally got it. Got the guy's license plate number, reported it over both to my insurance company. Fortunately, my insurance company tracked down the information as opposed to putting it on me as under
which they can do.
Yeah, so they tracked that down. They said, here's footage of you hitting this vehicle. They went after the guy, sued him and all that stuff, and took care of it for me, at least the repairs and all that.
So the guy hit ran you then. He hit, and then he didn't park next to you. He just kept on going.
Where else?
Of course.
Yeah, so then since that point in time, I was like, you know what? Dash cam's like $50-$60 on Amazon. Let me throw this shit on my car.
Get one of those. That's not a bad.
It's worth it.
It is worth it, because I'm waiting for the person like you see on Ridiculousness, where the person standing in the street and jump into your car and then lay on the ground, and nobody sees it until they're laying on the ground, and then they're, what do you believe?
When you hit it. Yeah.
No.
Shit like that, and then like going back full circle where we started, like people driving opposite in a damn
Yeah, that's exactly right. Perfect.
I'm like,
right there.
Shit I can send into like America's Funniest Home Videos and maybe get some money out of, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Now here's what I'm thinking. Now that you said that, so my car, I have a parking spot in the back, off in the alley off the street, and last year or 2 years, maybe it was 2 years ago, my mom went on vacation. So I let her use, park her car in that spot. My next door neighbor, who can't drive, well, let me not say that. She could use some further instruction, let's just say. You know what it is? Honestly, people don't know how to back up. People don't know how to manipulate into spots. They can't parallel park.
It's so baffling me, and people get licenses. I mean, despite the fact that it probably isn't as prevalent as it needs to be, like parallel parking. Like, they can't parallel park. You still hand them a license.
No. This should be like the Brady Bunch. If you fuck up, you don't get the damn license.
You're done.
If you can't parallel park, you shouldn't get a license. If you don't know how to back up and can clearly navigate backing up and understand, you should not get a license, because those are two things you need to understand. And if you don't, you end up on ridiculousness because that's the people who crash into 5 cars or park like the guy who hit you in Target. That's what happens. Well, anyway, though, she was kind enough. She fucked my mom's the front end messed, like she must have backed her, pulled into it, and you know, you just hit a car. And she kept on going, and then finally got it into the spot. But she left a note on there. She even called. We got it settled. It finally was worked out. Appreciate that, and that's how it should be, right? That should be the way people. Yes, be accountable for your actions. Don't try to run away all of a sudden and hope nobody finds you. And then just while I've been bedridden, actually, I have my car parked back there a few months ago, and I get a text from my other neighbor, not the one, another neighbor who's on the other side of me, and he says, sorry, I hit your car and this and that. He says, I'm going to see if I can get some stuff and see if I can, work out the little ding and the little paint that I have on your car. And he did. And I have to say, I commend both of my neighbors for being honest, because unlike what I used to think of people, I'm finding that people are less likely to be honest. Absolutely. And if you don't catch me, it's like, if you don't catch me doing it, I'm not going to tell you I did it. So for them to do that, I have to commend them. It's a sad commentary on where our society is today. If we need to have cameras, which I think we do, unfortunately, be able to hold people accountable for the things that they do.
It's sad that we need to get to a surveillance society these days, in my opinion. Like, honesty and goodness has been lost. And I don't know if it's a generational thing or if it's just a sign of the times, but I'm like, look, yes, you have the technology. That doesn't mean you need to be able to use it to prove honesty. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
You're right. But unfortunately, I just feel like, again, people are not going to hold themselves accountable. People are not going to even care about what is true and fact and real. They are willing to, skirt things and, and lie. And, I wish everybody would have had my mom as a parent, because I was 5 years old. Did I ever tell you this story?
I think you said something about lying and whooping, right?
Yeah. So, I was 5 years old and I was a latchkey kid, and my mom went to work and she said, don't go to the pool. Yeah. And, we had a pool outside of where we lived in Kansas City. And I said, okay, Mom. And she left, and I went out to the pool, and it was fun as hell. We played a little volleyball. And see, the thing was, I couldn't swim. So she was thinking about me, but I was smart enough, for the most part, to be in the areas where I could stand and be okay. Yeah. There were a couple of times I remember going under, and you get that funny feeling when you feel like you can't touch the ground in the pool. And, and I was like, oh, no. And I made it, got myself to where my feet could be on the bottom of the pool, and I was cool. So, I get upstairs, I had a great day. My mom comes home from work, and she sees this little 5-year-old kid, and she says, did you go to the pool? And how our kids are. Our kids are stupid. I thought, I just tell her something, she would just leave it alone. So I said, no, I didn't go to the pool.
Yep.
With my wet, dripping ass, leaving a wet spot on the sofa because my shorts are still wet, and I'm lying to her, telling her that I ain't been to the pool. You dumbass kid.
That is awesome.
So she tore my ass up. Tore it up. And that taught me not to lie.
Yeah.
And it also taught me not to steal and not to do other things. Like the one joke, who was the one comedian, like the kid who tried to get you off the block to go do some bad shit. And I look back and I see my mom hanging out the window. I'm taking your ass whipping. I'm going to fight you, dude, because I know my mom's going to whip my ass. I'm not sure that you can. So I'm willing to do that because I'm not going to go against what my mom says. That was always me. Like, even today I live, I swore in front of my mom the other day. I felt so bad. Because that's just how it is. But these people today don't have that. Nobody has any of that. What's wrong with people?
I feel like that changed probably over the last 20 years, honestly, because I don't even know how to explain it anymore. I'm like, okay, it wasn't a fear factor of your parents. It was a rationalization. Like, I don't want to be in trouble with my mom and dad because I respect them, right? Like, that's what it was in our generation.
A little bit of fear too. A little fear too. If you spare the rod, you spoil the child. So I knew the rod was coming, but I had respect for my mom. So you're right, but I still feel like that ass whipping was the prevailing thing. It's like, I didn't want that ass whipping.
Yeah.
So, and I know today it's called abuse, but I thought it was parenting back then.
I feel like at some point it became more of a open agenda to talk about abuse, and which is fine. I get it. There's obviously other bad forms of abuse that exist in the world that we obviously should be talking about.
Sure, and
But I
parents
think
have done it.
once that word became more vernacular, or more kids realized, oh, there's abuse. Like, I feel like abuse got abused to the point where basically, like, okay, any little thing your parents say that's against you as a little kid now is seen as overly sensitive or whatever it is.
Hey,
so then, you
go
know,
ahead.
yeah, go for it.
Oh no, I was just gonna say when you said that, and it just reminded me of Russell Peters is hilarious, right?
Yeah.
He's hilarious. And it was that thing, what you just said, where the father was telling him something, and he was like, well, fuck you, Dad. Like his friends were telling him, his white friends told their parents. I remember that too. My white friends said fuck you to his mom. And I wanted to whoop his ass. I was gonna call my mom and tell him to come over and whoop his ass because you're not supposed to do that. But his mom didn't do shit. And same thing. And then he said, you know what? He said, fuck you to him. He's like, I'm gonna kick you. He said, I'll call the DCFS on you. He's like, yeah, it's gonna take them 10 minutes to get here. And in that 10 minutes, somebody gonna get hurt.
Somebody's gonna get hurt real bad. Yeah.
Somebody's gonna get hurt. And that's that thing. That's what that reminded me of. It's like the kids holding the parents hostage nowadays by threatening like you said, abuse. You're not being abused. You're being disciplined. And there's a difference.
You're being taught what's right and wrong, and that's the problem.
Yeah, there's a difference. So I took my ass whooping. I'm happy she whooped my ass because who knows what kind of kid. I don't lie. I can't even lie. Like my wife goes, I can tell you're lying because your face look all fucked up because I can't lie because my mama whooped it out of me. So, maybe we need to have everybody just get one like old school cane.
One old school ass whooping. Yeah. If there's school still out there using the old paddle or cane, like,
break it out, y'all. Just one time. You only allow one, but do it well, and you won't ever have to do it again.
And you don't have to do it again. Exactly. They'll have a lasting impression, literally.
Run drivers who just run away because they'll stop and go, oh, yeah, you know what? I did it. My fault. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I hate to say it, but we're getting to that point where like you almost have to make an example of things so that people will come to a realization. But then, it can be taken good or bad, right? In both those situations. That's the problem. So I don't know. It's interesting to see how differing the parenting, like my parents remarked on it. My grandmother remarks on it. It's like the parenting style these days is completely different. It doesn't matter who you are.
I love my kids.
Yeah.
I love kids in general, but I think we're doing them a disservice.
Huge.
In this one regard, it maybe others, but one is specifically. When I was a kid, I didn't have a voice. I had a listening device that told me to listen acutely to the things being told to me so that I follow directions to not get my ass whooped. Today, we value the kids' opinion so much. Now, remember this. The kids' brains are underdeveloped. So they're trying to learn. They don't have experiences to draw from to be able to say what's right and wrong. So they're trying to learn these things. But we're giving them the same rights as adults when it comes to the voice. So the kids are saying, I don't like this and this and this and this. And it's like, it's not supposed to be about that because there's some things you're not supposed to like, right? I wish that as a parent, I went that route. Like I used to, I was, straight disciplined kind of kid, but I give my kids some leeway. Would you like to go and be on this tennis, at McFadden? You want to do this tennis thing? No. Okay, then we won't do it. You want, so now we're like getting their opinions about things instead of putting them in situations and I'm not saying that you have to force them to, but put them in a situation. If they don't like it, then you take them out of it. But maybe they do develop to like it, but they say no immediately nowadays because they don't know it. So it's like, I don't want to do anything extra. Well, that's bullshit. And I think that we're doing them a disservice because the kids aren't getting, more comprehensive understanding and opportunities to interact with their environment.
I think of it as layers. So what you just said is a good example of where, okay, you take a kid's opinion, but you've never actually layered before that how, or even instilled a kid to think about how he should be coming up with that decision. So like, so I think it's one of those things where like, okay, you can go up to a kid and say, okay, do you want to play something or whatever? And you've never taken the time, either yourself or any other forces around him have never been able to give him the basal like layer that he needs to make that informed decision to whatever he wants to make. He just says things arbitrarily, or she says anything arbitrarily.
Yep.
And I think that's what's missing in today's generation. And it goes back to exactly what you just said earlier about latchkey kids. We were forced to think independently. We were forced to come up with logic and reason.
Yes.
And that is now it's either skipped in the current generation, or it's missing the entire layer of what it needs to be learned, like in some way. I mean, not to make it a whole psychology lesson, but I feel like that's the whole point, is they're not able to make decisions on their own in the best manner possible sometimes now, because they don't have that basal level of understanding of having to fight or fend in their own way at an earlier stage.
Agree.
So it's that I think it's that difference in mentality that, we could stand on our own, do things on our own, willing to jump in with, hands first, face first, feet first. This current generation, I think, is more, I don't even, methodical is the word, but they are more random and arbitrary. Like, they don't think about things logically from a more global perspective, right?
I agree with that. I agree that they don't have that foundation of reasonable thought and being able to take information and process it. They just say, like, by default, no. And it's like, why are you saying no? And they can't really define that. It's just more of, because I've never tried it before, because I think it's going to be bad. And it's like, well, everything could be bad if you never try it. If you never get in the game, you don't know what's in the game. You don't know how the game is played. You don't understand the fun within the game.
Well, good examples. So I have my kids and my brother's kids. My brother's kids, they kind of are like, they're allowed to make more of those like freedom of choice kind of things, but unto themselves. Mine, I've kind of instilled them, like, you try everything before you say no. Like,
that's
that kind of
it. Try it.
Like, if there's like a random vegetable on all 4 of their plates, they're his 2 kids and my 2 kids. Mine will be like, all right, let me try this or whatever. The other one's all making say, no, it's not the right color. It's not whatever. Like,
That's a good example. That's a great example of that, because that's exactly what I mean. It's like, just try it. You may not like it, but you might love it.
I want you to know how it feels before you decide.
Well, and that's, what, if you want to translate that to how we see things. For instance, the people who want to hold prejudices against other people or other things, but they've never once interacted with it. So they only take what others have either said about it, or they just look at it and say, it just doesn't look like how I think it should look. So therefore, that's the problem with where we are today. Try a little bit. Actually have a reference point to use when you come up with a certain determination, yes, no, or whatever that determination may be. At least you have a reference point. For you to just say, no, that sucks, no, this, but you never experienced it, you are misinformed, and you really just, your opinion has no validity.
No, and that I think it even goes like, I think one of my cousins, I gotta value his opinion a lot, and his thing is experience the world, don't just talk about the world, right?
Yes. So bingo. That's I want to touch it, not read it in a book. I want to touch it.
Use your 5 senses, understand it, feel it, see it for yourself, then come up with your decision. Don't just read about it, hear about it, whatever, and come up with your own, whatever it is.
Well, what's funny is there's a TikTok. I was discussing this with a guy yesterday. He sent me one of these TikToks, and basically what it was they were talking about J.K. Rowling, and they were talking about a comment relating to what people said was like transgender phobia, whatever term they come up with now. And the student, it was a professor and a student, and the student basically said, well, based on popular belief, this, that statement was referring it to it this way. And then the professor stopped them and said, read the statement. All right, now that you've read it for yourself, do you see it? How do you determine what's being said there? Is it like what you thought it was? Oh, no, it isn't. Well, that teacher actually got fired for that. That's some bullshit.
That's just bullshit.
That's critical thinking. That's what you're supposed to be teaching people, is not to follow the herd, to read it for yourself and evaluate it and determine what it means from your perspective, not from where everybody else's. But you get fired for that?
See, and that's what's, it goes back to even like books being banned and all this stuff like these days. Like, I laugh when I think I was talking to like friends that literally grew up in the state of Missouri now, right? Like, and I was a big Mark Twain fan when I was a kid. Like, I like reading stories, Huckleberry Finn, stuff like that. Never did I once, and this is the weird thing, I don't even know if it was never pressed upon me, or maybe I just didn't pick it up that way. I never thought about that book as racist.
I was going to say, you probably didn't think about that book as racist. This is the failure of our system. When we talk about educating people, we really don't educate. Historically, we don't talk about certain things like slavery and how that developed. We don't talk about that stuff. We don't want to educate people to have them think on their own and come up with like information and then be able to determine what it means for them. We either omit it so it's never discussed, or we frame it in a certain way so it's only looked at in this view. That is such bullshit. I agree with you. I read Mark Twain, and just from my upbringing, you know, I didn't see prejudice like that. Like my mom told me the first time kids at my school in Kansas City called me the N-word.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it out loud. Ooh,
yeah.
I can say it, right? I can say it because I got the right. Anyway, right. So they called me the N-word. So I went home to my mom and I said, "What does that mean?" Because I didn't know what it meant, but I could tell it was bad because of the way they said it to me. And my mom told me, you know, she educated me. She's like, "It's an ignorant person," and the people who called you that are the ones who are ignorant. Smart ass Roy, taking that information, went back to school the next day, called them all the N-word, like the same way they called me. Call them all the N-word. The funniest part about that was I was the one who got suspended.
That's messed up.
That's the world, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this kid was retaliating because of how they treated him, but we're going to punish him for retaliating. Because you know why? You know why, little kid? You know why you're being punished? Because you are the N-word. I mean, isn't that what you're telling them?
Truth. That's true.
So
that's
I know I went off on that tangent, but I do think that
it's a valid point, though. Like the way that, I don't know, whether it's media or whatever it is, like you said, one slant apparently becomes the prevailing trail versus letting people have independent thought, which is just bullshit. Like I don't think people fully realize, and they probably won't for a number of years. That's what stymies thought and innovation.
Hello.
That's where this country is going to fail. I mean, you know, or whatever.
Mob mentality. Because if we become a mob mentality, who's running the mob?
That's true.
Whose words are you following as a mob?
Right.
Is it right? Is it wrong? Are we going to be doing, you know, calling people out like, you know, I'll just say it, how some people who are backing the Trump campaign, we just go with the lie and we don't care.
Mentality, yeah, exactly. It's like, they got to be true. Okay, why? You know, I can't answer that.
Can you ask the question why? And if it doesn't smell right after that's answered, would you then doubt it as opposed to just blindly follow it? And that's where we're at. We are so blind. We have this sheep mentality where we're just going to be herded, and that's what's going to happen. And we'll just believe what's being told.
A lack of leadership and innovation in the world. It's where we're at today in society as a whole. Like we have no one that wants to take a bold step forward. And of course, even if they take that bold step forward, they know they're going to have 50,000 bullets at their head from other people, you know, criticizing like, oh, it's whatever it is, and you know, all that. It sucks. Overly sensitive world sucks. Simple.
It does suck because we can't be honest with each other. We can. I actually was having a discussion with my goddaughter yesterday, and she brought up some good points yesterday or day before, but she brought up some good points. And there were some things that was like, ooh, it just scares me the way we sound. Because if everybody's angry and we're not listening to each other and we all think that we're right and not willing to admit that maybe we're a little right and a little wrong on both sides, then we're never going to find common ground to make things better. And that's all I'm hearing. I'm hearing that kind of discussion and that kind of emotion behind things, you know, where you use words that, you know, hurt or that misrepresent how, or not misrepresent, it might be how you feel, but it will never be received in the way you need it to be received to be able to get somebody to understand your perspective. You know, it's no different. And I don't want to touch on the subject, but some of the stuff that's going on right now in the not Middle East, in the Gaza and all of that, there's some right there and there's some wrong there.
There is, absolutely.
And there should be discussions around that. The retaliation part was wrong, but the retaliation was needed for it to be heard because people weren't listening when you said, please, can you help us? Do you see our issue and you see why this is wrong? Nobody was listening. But now when the other retaliation happened, now it becomes, instead of focusing on the issue and the why, they look at the retaliation and go, well, that's wrong and everything else is wrong because of it. And I'm not sure that's the case.
Well, and here's my thing to it. Because you weren't willing to have the dialogue, because you weren't willing to talk it out and figure out the best solution for both sides, that's why someone felt that we needed to go to that extreme.
Bingo.
And act the way they did. It should never get to that point for anything, ever.
Totally agree.
And again, indictment on society. It's like you could have had it at the high levels and could have had a talk. You could have worked this out. You could have figured out something. But because you decided to push one way or the other on both sides, guess what? People reached extremes, and that's what happens in society. Unfortunately, you get those extremes, and that's where it really causes.
And but that was the only way to get world visibility to this, because it's not like this happened yesterday. This has been going on for a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
So the action that provoked this was wrong. The action initially that provoked this was wrong, but nobody wanted to admit that. Then the people on the other side who were the victims of the actions got tired of it.
But way too long. Yeah.
Right. But what they did wasn't right either.
Of course, absolutely.
But you can't focus on the action and then damn everything else, because then you're missing the point and the opportunity to try to at least have a dialogue to make things right.
Yep, absolutely.
And we're so much like that. We're so busy to point the finger, and there could be a whole conversation that makes sense, and then there's one thing that you say, and maybe that didn't quite make sense, or maybe it was said in the wrong way, or the wrong word was used, and that becomes the focus. And then it's all back to square one. Everybody's hating and yelling and doing this, and it's like, how are we ever going to come together? Aren't we all still the human race first? Human race first.
Can't we all just get along?
I said that when we were talking about it. It's like, can't we all just get along? And you saw what happened there, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we can't.
We need another "We Are the World," unification between all the actors, singers, and everything else in the world.
I don't know. See, back then you could get Dionne Warwick in the same room with Stevie Wonder and this. Can you do that today?
I think you could do it with most celebrities. I want to say, like, I don't know if you knew this. Apparently, Eminem is dropping an album here in a couple of days. Now that's going to be revolutionary, I think. Again,
I want to hear it.
I want to hear it.
It's going to be controversial.
Oh, absolutely.
But what I was thinking is, the way the world is today, I could see everybody thinking, like even the way they put together some of the songs and videos. You're where you are, I'm where I am. I sing a couple of lyrics, you sing a couple of lyrics. They mold it into a song. They show our faces where we are once or twice.
Dolly Parton, Beyonce thing, right? Like, okay, we blended two things from probably polar opposite worlds at one point, but now apparently we're all one.
There's got to be a way. It's funny. I wasn't taught prejudice. I never felt that. No. Like, even when I lived in the ghetto and I didn't see white people, I never felt that. And when I moved to the north side of Chicago, I was shocked, because I didn't know it existed like that. But the funny thing was, it wasn't me hating on them. It was them hating on me just for being me, just for being here.
Join the club. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you too.
In the South. I 100% agree. I don't think I ever felt until I went to, quote unquote, the deep South. You know what I mean? Like,
I felt it here in Chicago. So it's deep enough even here, but you're right. The further you go, like the one time I was at my uncle's house in Arkansas, and, I used to get up real early, crack of dawn, smoke a joint, get my wake and bake on, and I would walk. So I walked this one time, and I must have walked the wrong direction, because I ended up in a place, it was like a movie. I was walking, and I'm reading, and all of a sudden I look to my right, and there's a guy coming out of his house and just standing there and staring at me. And then it became more and more people doing the same thing. And I realized they didn't look like me.
I was gonna say, we're glad Roy didn't end up as Emmett Till.
Well, the way I was being looked at, maybe they were just surprised to see a Negro there. And, oh shit, damn, it's not nighttime, but it sure is dark over there. But it's like
they're probably like, I saw the Jeffersons on TV. I didn't realize it was real. No,
yeah, right. He said, hey, I didn't know this was coming. Are you delivering the mail? Because that's what Brown can do for me. Anyway, but so it's like, I saw them, and then immediately my sense of flee, like I was the black person in the horror movie, the white people always die because they want to go, well, let's investigate. And black person is like, let's run, and then we can talk about it later. Yeah, that was me. And I ran all the way back to my uncle's house. But it was one of the scariest moments I had in my life, because I had that feeling of, holy shit, justice could be served on me based on their perspective, and nobody would protect me.
Yep.
So I don't even know why I brought that up, but that was Deep South. That was the Deep South hate thing.
Honestly, I think it was
weaker down there, but it's still in the same. It's still in the same ballpark up here too, though.
We were doing one of our very first tennis meets when I was in high school as a freshman. I just happened to be one of the first probably brown people to walk through the school in 40 years, whatever, at that point in time, in a predominantly white suburban Paducah, Kentucky high school. And, we played a match against a team in Marshall County. Marshall County supposedly, I think, had the last lynching in the state of Kentucky in the 70s or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. So you can only imagine
the last,
100% white.
Look, last lynching on record. All right.
On record. Yeah, exactly. And that was the whole thing. So all my teammates were like, hey, just kind of stay quiet or whatever. And, in a good way. They're like, just stay quiet, keep your head down, we'll just play our match and we'll get out of there or whatever. We're playing this match at this facility. All white team, all white high school, all 9 yards. Showing up. Even my coach was like, "Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it by ear, whatever." We get there, play my match. Kid, luckily the kid shook my hand. I was gonna end that bad.
Honestly, that's a 50-50.
That's progress.
Yeah. Did you hear any bad things in the audience while you were playing?
Surprisingly, not. I was honestly anticipating the full 9 yards. I was anticipating eyes on. I mean, I wasn't even playing number 1. I was playing number 4 at that time on the team. I was thinking this is gonna be fun and entertaining. Kicked the kid's butt off the court. Shook hands, walked off. I could see in the distance there were definitely kids out there that were like, huh? Double take. When did we allow this type of stuff around here?
Hey, you know what though? Let's keep it real. I mean, here in America, what's the percentage breakouts, right? So the likelihood of you seeing people, and that's why I always try to keep in perspective. The likelihood of them seeing people like us is not high. No. So when they see it, it's a surprise, and they give you that look. When I was in Austria, I had people staring at me. Little kids came up to me in little cafes and restaurants, looking me dead in the eye, like in marvel, like in wonderment, like, is that what a black person looks like? Because I've never seen one, Mom.
Yeah.
Saying it all in German.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But you know what? I can't fault them for that.
No.
I can't.
At the end of the day, it's about, like I said, world experience, like we were saying. Like, people have to have had the opportunity to go venture out of their, niche or whatever you want to call it. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen enough. I think the European mentality, obviously completely different, I think, if I speaking clearly there, but I feel like those people travel, they broaden themselves, even if they don't even see more African Americans. I think nowadays they probably do, or they probably see other races all over the place in Europe. Probably.
It wasn't the hate. Like, that kid didn't look at me like, that's bad, mommy. Just looked at me like, what is that, mommy?
That's different. Yeah.
Yeah. And I, not that everybody here does that, but I sure as hell have had my encounters where you could see it in their face. Like,
you go up, like Northern Illinois, I'm sure, Yeah.
Hey, I was at, and I keep going off on a tangent, can't help it, but I was at did I tell you this when I was at the airport dropping my mom off? And I had a shirt, I have it in there. It's a poster, it's a slave poster. Mm-hmm. It says, for lot and soul, 5 Negroes, this, that, and the other, right? I just put it on. I was just driving my mom. It was early morning, wasn't thinking about it. Went to drop my mom off, and there was an old guy standing there, and he had on these old school Chips sunglasses, like the old motorcycle sunglasses. They're really big like this, and he's looking at me. I didn't notice him at first, and I'm taking my mom's stuff out and bringing her to the curb, and then I turned around and I noticed, and he was staring at me. Now, he's got these glasses on. You can't really see his eyes, but you can see the emotion in it. You could see the face. And he was so mad at me for having this shirt on that actually did nothing more than talked about what happened in history. It was a real artifact, just a picture of it on a shirt. He got mad at me for wearing that. And it was like, I thought he was going to have a heart attack because he wouldn't have gotten mouth to mouth from me. He would have just been sitting there dead or, hoping somebody else would have done. But it's just funny how we have that hatred. And it's like, why is there so much hate around this? And it's hate on both sides, and it's not right, regardless if it's the brown hate or white hate. It doesn't matter. Hate is hate. I do think that people who are brown have more justification for being mad than the ones who are not. You weren't enslaved. You didn't have your great relatives killed for no reason other than the color of their skin. You weren't, called 3/5 of a human being as opposed to being considered a human being.
But you forget about that stat. Wait a minute.
But you're as mad as I am. That has always baffled me. Always. and it will always be like that.
Well,
I don't know
yeah.
why, but it will be like that.
Well, in some cases, they're trying to erase that history. I'm like, you can't erase history. Like, I'm sorry, you cannot erase history. You can't go back and correct history. You can't tear back. You can't tear down statues. Those are part of what we are today. Like, you have to understand, and this is how society must function. Yes, you can go back and say, hey, that was wrong. You're allowed to say that. Obviously, you should be saying that. But it doesn't mean you take it away, you know?
Well, next, they had the big thing discussions with the statues. Where was that? In North Carolina?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I mean, everywhere. Honestly, it's taking place. Even here.
Sorry, I got to adjust my back.
I think unfortunately I might have to drop. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's 9:30. Yeah, that's you. But you're right. Bad or good, it did represent something. Now we could say it's bad, and I guess the thing with that, is these symbols still exist, and if they're bad, should they still be things that we hold in honor, right, or esteem? Because
I shouldn't see a 20-foot statue of Stonewall Jackson, in front of the Capitol,
or like the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, right?
There you go.
But yeah, it's just interesting where we are. You know what I wanted to do? We still didn't do the editing. We still got to do that.
Yeah, we got to do that. Yeah, so I got you know what? I'll as soon as I get off my other call here, I'll upload the software to my Google Drive. Send you the link. Download it to your computer, and then install that. And then we can start. We can start at least editing. What we've got at least.
Okay, and then what I was thinking also is maybe we could start looking at what's the hot topic of today. Come up with maybe 3 or 4 hot topic agenda items, and then we could you sort of that go off on tangents as needed. But at least we have sort of like a core
big script
subject matter, to be discussed for that time frame.
Yep, totally agree.
But I'd love it. I love this, man. This has been great.
This is needed every week.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's therapeutic too for me because you're still working, so you get to talk to somebody. I get to talk to I get to talk to 2 other people, myself and I. That's all. So it's just like the 3 of us keep having a conversation. They call that crazy in some places.
Some places.
Hey man, I know you need to get to a meeting, so I apologize.
No worries, man. No, definitely. Yeah, like I said, let me upload the thing to you, and I'll give you a shout, and then let's touch base again on Monday, like we have scheduled.
All right, sounds good, bro.
Man, I'll catch you later.
Peace to you.